let's get into the giant mailbag.
What crazy thing did City do this week?
It's time for Mattress Running the Numbers. Ready for the main event?
The main event.
Frequent Miler on the air starts now. Today's main event is brought to you post-Thanksgiving. We're in the Thanksgiving spirit. So we're going to talk about, should we stop overlooking Spirit Airlines?
Spirit Airlines, what you should be thankful for this year. Or is that just the tryptophan talking? I don't know. I'm not sure, but
I'm not sure that spirit and thanks are what many people expect to hear. But they are a legitimate option for flying around the country, and we're going to ask the question, have we been ignoring them too long?
Maybe we have. I don't know. And maybe not only us, but more importantly, has the rest of the community been ignoring them too long also? We'll talk about it. We'll discuss. We will.
All right. Giant mailbag time. Yes.
All right. Drag it out.
Giant mailbag. Today's giant mailbag is a combination mail and confession time. So all the good things wrapped up in one.
Oh, yeah. All right. Let's get it going.
Okay. So you may or may not remember that I posted a 10-year retrospective celebrating 10 years of blogging as Frequent Miler.
I recall something about that. Yes.
Yeah. And in that post, I said that September 11th of 2011 was when the blog started.
That was like my favorite part because it was awesome because that meant that we spent the 10-year anniversary in the Maldives, arriving in the Maldives, arriving in style for the 10th
We talked
anniversary.
about that last week, how we got off the plane and we were asked, I was asked, can I carry your giant mailbag? And we thought, wow, that is just hilarious and a fantastic way to inadvertently celebrate the 10-year anniversary. But Kim wrote in the comments of that blog post, September 3rd, 1st, 11th, ? After listening to the podcast, I wanted to go back in time to find out when I might have started reading this blog. In doing so, I found the initial post was dated September 3rd. Nick, hopefully Greg will do a better job in determining the actual day you started with the blog. And she says that because Nick's 5-year anniversary is coming up in January. I'm not going to say which day.
Good. You shouldn't.
Right.
You don't want to get fact checked twice, like week to week here, right?
Yeah. Kim did a smiley face and said, I'm curious how Greg came up with the 9/11/11 as the date, though. Congrats on whenever the 10th anniversary occurred.
Greg got fact checked. You got fact checked trying to report fake news on our show.
I had to, of course, go, check out, was Kim right about this? And yes, in fact, September 3rd, 2011 was when I wrote an introduction, just a little paragraph introducing the blog. But my first blog post was September 4th, 2011. Neither one of those was September 11th. But, so I kind of think of September 4th as probably the right answer. Maybe because that was the first day I had real posts. Either way, I was wrong.
Either way, the moral of the story is I hope that Kim is someone who applied for the job because that's an example of the kind of research you got to be able to do,
That's
right?
Very true. That's very true. So, hopefully she did apply. The September 11th, where I got that, obviously the famous date might have gotten stuck in my mind. But equally possible, I may have remembered that September of 2011 was when the blog started. And so I sort of might have coded that in my head as September 11. You know what I mean? So
a forgivable mistake, but Kim's not going to be the one to forgive you for it. That's all I'm going to say.
What's not forgivable is that I didn't do the simple work of checking my memory.
But Kim did. Kim took care of it for you. So
she
thank
did,
you, Kim.
But I'd prefer to have someone doing that before it actually publishes next time, and before I talk about it on the podcast. Come on.
Truth be told, I didn't go to fact check Greg either on that before I published it. So I'm a little Disappointed in myself. I haven't found that before Kim did. So
I know.
nicely done.
Come on,
Kim.
Nick. You know you're working with an
I know.
elderly guy here.
I know. I should have been
My
checking your
memory's
work.
not what it used to be, and even when it used to be, it was bad memory back then. So, yeah.
All right. So September of 2011, from now on, is what we're going to talk about when Frequent Miler began. Thank you, Kim. Well done. Well done. All right. So let's talk about crazy thing. What crazy thing did American Express do this week?
Right. What did American Express do?
Well, so American Express has had this +4 referral offer. And we've been talking a lot about this. Last week's show is all about it. We've written some posts about it. It's an amazing deal. And a lot of people have asked us questions, by the way. A lot of people have asked, how do you get a referral for it if you don't have a second player? And I've been telling people, that's part of the value in making connections with other people who are into the hobby. You're not probably going to convince your friends who have no interest in credit cards to open up Amex cards through your affiliate links. But, in a normal world, you go to these meetups, you meet people face to face, you make friends who are interested in the hobby and in the same situation as you without a second player. And then, you trade links and blah, blah, blah. But that's not the crazy thing. The crazy thing is that American Express has this ability to refer people to almost any Amex card. So if you've got an Amex card that earns membership rewards points, for instance, let's say you have the Amex Gold card, you can generate a referral link for the Amex Platinum card or the Everyday card or the Hilton card or the Delta card or the this or the that. Except in some situations, we found that there are some Amex cards that cannot create a link specifically for the Marriott business card. Now, the luxury card should be easy to make. Now, I you know what? As soon as I said that, I realized I should have stopped somewhere else first and said, if you have a co-branded card, like a Hilton card or a Delta card or a Marriott card, you can only refer to other cards in the same co-brand. So if you've got one that's a Hilton card, you can only refer to other Hilton cards. But if you've got like the Amex Gold card that earns 4X dining and 4X US supermarkets, you can refer to the Hilton cards or the Delta cards or the, whatever cards, except the Marriott business card. And it's only some, like I found Blue Business Plus links in general cannot refer to the Marriott business card. The Hilton business card is fair game. All the Delta business cards are fine, but not the Marriott business card. What's up with that, Greg?
Right. So weird. It's one of those things that, it's such a niche little, problem. If you happen to have just the Blue Business Plus, or that's where you want to trigger the referral offer, and you have a friend that wants to sign up for that,
the Marriott business card specifically,
card, then you're in trouble.
So like
weird.
What a weird, and something you never would have noticed if not for the fact that we're bloggers. And so obviously we're going through our different links and stuff and trying to set them up to put them on our best offers page. And this is one where we probably don't even have the referral link in there. So I happened to notice where I was like, oh, that's so weird. There's one fewer business card on this one.
Right. Another weird thing going on with referrals. Some people are reporting that they're not able to refer from their Platinum card. Which is so bizarre. They're able to refer from other Amex cards, but not from their Platinum card. I have no idea what's going on there. Seems even more mysterious than this Marriott Bonvoy thing.
It does. It's weird. And both my wife and I have the Platinum card, and we both are able to refer people from it. I don't know. And my wife has two of them, two personals and a business, and she can refer from all of them. So I don't know what's going on, but you're right. We've gotten a few reports from people who are unable to generate referrals from their Platinum card. So there's some weirdness there. It's not enough weirdness to not take advantage of it while you can, but definitely weird. What are you doing, Amex? I don't get it. What? No idea what the explanation is.
We don't want to poke that bear. They're doing a good thing with referrals in general. So
keep up the good work, Amex.
If you have a couple little idiosyncrasies, we'll live with it.
We'll accept that. We'll accept your idiosyncrasies the same way we accept that Greg doesn't know what day the blog started. So
that's right. Elderly guy here. Excuse.
All right. So then we talked about the crazy thing. Let's talk about Mattress Running the Numbers. This week we've got Wyndham up for Mattress Running the Numbers. Wyndham Rewards. Greg, I know you're excited about Wyndham Rewards. You're a Wyndham Rewards credit card holder, right?
I am.
So should we
business earner card? Well, so there's like 3 different promos that are overlapping with Wyndham. So this sounds legitimately interesting to me. That
you're just going to give it away right up front and say that it sounds interesting, huh?
Well, I'm just saying it sounds interesting. Before doing math, you've got a promo to get a $25 gift card with a 2-night stay and you could do that up to twice.
A Wyndham gift card?
No. So we looked that up, and it's not a Wyndham gift card. You have your choice of an Amazon gift card, what is it, BP
Shell
or something?
or BP?
Shell.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you actually have a valuable gift card.
You're not stuck staying at a Wyndham again. They're not going to
right.
They're not going to stick you with that.
If you've done this, you've already done your 2 or 4 nights.
Right.
I mean,
no, you did your time. You don't need to come back.
God forbid, they're going to make you do more.
We give you a reason to come back. Makes a lot of sense. A lot of sense.
Josh, if Wyndham, if you're listening, we don't mean to hurt your feelings.
No. I mean, it's great. It's wonderful. It's just bizarre that you would give people gift cards for things other than Wyndham.
Right.
but hey.
So another really good promo is you get 10K points with a 2-night stay, right? And you could do that up to twice as well. So those overlap nicely. And then there's a third promo that by itself sounds awful, which is you get 7,500 points for a 4-night stay, but it doesn't have to be a single stay. So you can actually overlap all of these 3 and stay 4 nights over at least 2 stays, and you should be able to get all 3 of these promos. All 3 of the promos. So you need 2 night stays. Now there's, I think also on the 10,000 point promo, I think there's the requirement to check in on a weekday. I think you have to check in like Sunday through Wednesday or something like that. So you need 2 night stays that check in like Sunday through Wednesday. And the period of time when these 3 promotions overlap runs until like January 14th, because they each have different end dates, but they all overlap until January 14th. So 2 night stays, and you'd end up with 2 10,000 point bonuses, a 7,500 point bonus, and a $25 gift card. Not bad. 2 $25 gift cards.
$25 gift, $50 in gift cards. Holy moly.
So that averages to 6,875 points per night, and $12.50 in gift cards per night as well.
Right. So is that Mattress Room? Now, before you answer that, should also mention that if you are actually going to do this and you do have the Wyndham business Visa card, which the business card is the one we both talk about the most because it's got 8x at gas stations, which in an ordinary world is a fantastic return at gas stations. So,
sure is.
So that's a great card, and it gives you diamond status. So it's a great card to have. And if you have that, then you're going to earn 8x at Wyndham properties also on that, on whatever amount you're paying for your paid nights. Plus, you should probably be able to link it up to Wyndham, or to Visa Savings Edge for 4% back from that. Visa Savings Edge is a program for business cards, business Visa cards. It's like a card linked thing where you register your card with it, and then you get these statement credits when you happen to spend money at the included merchants, and Wyndham is one of them. So you get 4% back on whatever it is you spend on your card if you link it up to Visa Savings Edge. So you get that 4%, the 8x, and then everything else you're talking about. What, 6,000? What'd you say?
6,875 points per night.
Plus $12.50 per night. Is that Mattress Run worthy? Is it worth booking a cheap Wyndham to check in 2 times for 2 nights each, just for the points? Greg, what do you think?
Yeah. I mean, let's just do sort of the back of the envelope type of math here. Let's round up to 7,000 points per night, assuming that you're earning extra points for the stay itself and for with a credit card or whatever, just make it easy. So 7,000 points, and let's just say we like Wyndham points for a penny each. You might not, but that's $70 worth of points per night, plus $12.50 in gift cards. So you're about over $80 in value. Yeah. That's not even adding in the Visa Savings Edge, and if you went through a portal, there's other opportunities.
One of these needs to be booked in the app, so I don't know for sure that a portal will stack, but whatever. I mean, yes. So there might be some other opportunities. Maybe you're working on a sign-up bonus. Maybe lots of other things you could be doing to kind of help yourself out. I guess. So not bad. I mean, it's
if you're looking to earn extra Wyndham points, I mean, if you think about it, if you're planning to use those Wyndham points for our favorite redemption, which is Vacasa Vacation Rentals, right? You're getting how many points did we say in total? Like over
27,500 points. That's enough.
Right.
If you do have
plus the points from the credit card and
points from the credit card.
So, and if you have the credit card, you get a 10% discount on rewards. So those 27,000, that's enough for a 2-night stay in a 1-bedroom vacation rental. It could be a huge vacation rental, one that costs quite a bit of money. That's pretty nice. I kind of like it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sitting here looking on my phone next to, if you're watching this on video, you saw me looking off screen probably, because I'm sitting here looking right now. I'm like, this might be Mattress Run worthy. Let me see what's nearby, because so you're talking about $80 worth of points back, and we're valuing those relatively low at 1 cent each, because you could book vacation rentals, and we're talking about Vacasa that are worth way more than the value that we're using right now. So I'm just trying to get an idea, and I see Wyndham properties around me without even sorting them by price yet. $53.09 a night, $53.30 a night, $54 a night. I'm not at home, so for those that know that I live in the middle of nowhere, know there aren't that many Wyndham properties where I live at home. But I'm seeing plenty of places near me where I could book a 2-night stay for pretty cheap. And I mean, I may have to book one of these when I get off this before this thing publishes. And you guys all pick up all the Wyndham properties.
I'm probably not going to bother with this, just because, it's a fair amount of work to make sure you get it all and to check into the hotels. But that's because I have a bunch of Wyndham points from having signed up for, my wife and I each signed up for the Wyndham card, the Wyndham business card. And, I did the Wyndham portal deal, back when. And so, so I'm not eager to get more points right now. Plus, now that Citi allows transfers to Wyndham, I have that as an opportunity to get them when I need them. But if I was in a position where it's like, I'm looking, if I didn't have many points and I have real Vacasa, plans, not even concrete plans, but just sort of intentions. Like I know that it's likely I'm going to do it. I think it'd be totally worth it.
Yeah. Actually what I'm looking at this, the reason that I'm looking at this now off the side of my camera here is because we were just talking with friends like 2 weeks ago about trying to this spring plan something with friends that have kids the same ages as ours. We said, we should plan to get like an Airbnb somewhere and go somewhere for a few days together, like a little vacation. And I brought up to my wife this, whole Wyndham thing, and these friends of ours don't play the points game at all. So I'm not going to get them to sign up for a Wyndham credit card and all the rest of that, because that's not, if they were going to play the game, that's not where I would start. But I look at this and I say, well, you know what? I could generate points really cheaply, and they'd be thrilled to pay, not very much, less than a penny a point. If they're paying $100 a night, then they're going to be thrilled with that, especially if we can get a nice big vacation rental with a few bedrooms. So I'm thinking I might just do this just to generate the points, to not use my own points and get my friends a good deal too. So
there you go. And boy, I feel like even if you don't need to stay in these Wyndham hotels, if you have little kids and they would have fun, like playing in the pool or whatever that's there, you could get some value out of the stay as well.
Yeah.
All the better.
For sure. Yeah, totally. I knew a lot of people when I was younger and didn't have kids that were older and had kids, and they do exactly that kind of thing where they book a hotel for the day just to go and play in the pool. And I can totally see that now. In fact, we checked into a hotel Friday night and we went to go check out the pool just because we were curious. It was a Ritz property. We were just kind of curious. And my son was right away like, do we have our bathing suits? And my wife was like, well, no, we didn't bring them. And he was all disappointed. And I was like, yeah, that would have been a good idea next time.
You're a really bad parent.
I am. I'm a horrible parent. What can I say? All right. So Mattress Run worthy. Yes. That's the moral of the story is yes, this is probably Mattress Run worthy if you've got a good use for the points.
It's kind of fun when the stars align for something like this, where it actually makes sense to check in a hotel just for the points.
Just for the points.
Pretty cool.
So I'm going to find myself a cheap, dirty Wyndham property somewhere nearby where I don't actually have to stay in a place and make this happen. So, all right, that's good. We're done with Mattress Running the Numbers. Let's move on to this week's main event.
The main event.
Which is
Spirit. Should we stop overlooking Spirit? So for years, I avoided flying Spirit at all. I'd heard such bad things. I literally do not think I ever flew Spirit until about a month ago.
I mean, I understand. I watch the news now and then. I get it.
But I mean, I booked the Spirit flight I did because it was not just by far the cheapest option, but it was the one that had pretty much the only option I had that did involve more connections that got me to my destination at the time I needed to be there. And so the timing was right. And the experience turned out to be great. I had sprung for a big front seat. And, the first leg, I flew Detroit to Fort Lauderdale on my own. It was a beautiful new airplane and great experience. Everything was on time. Flight attendants were super nice. And then the next leg, I flew with you. And that was a very nice flight too, despite us having to be together.
Got an upgrade. Got to sit next to me. That's, a good
Right.
upgrade for you that time. So no, and I only flew the Fort Lauderdale onward and then back to Fort Lauderdale. But again, big front seat on the way there. I flew with you in the big front seat. And I'm going to go on record here and say that I think the big front seat is the best domestic first business class product that isn't lie flat. If you're not going to lie flat in terms of the seat itself, I mean, it's comfortable. It's huge. It is
comfortable. But I mean, it doesn't recline. So
okay. All right. If reclining is important to you, yes, I suppose that's a problem.
And it doesn't have in-flight entertainment. So
do you use the in-flight entertainment?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I can't remember. Well, you know why I can't remember the last time I used in-flight
because you didn't have it.
Yeah, because I fly Southwest. That's why. Because there's never any in-flight entertainment. So I take that for granted. I bring my own in-flight entertainment. So I mean, I always just travel with stuff on my phone that I want to watch, unless I'm flying in international business or first, and then I do tend to watch a movie in a longer flight like that. But anyway. All right. So you're going to contest that. I'm going to say it's comfortable. That's what I want. I want space and plushness, and that's what you get. And then on the way back, because I have Spirit Gold status, which we'll talk more about status in a minute, I got a free exit row seat. So didn't cost me anything. Got an exit row seat. Nobody ended up in the seat next to me, empty seat, next to me, because who flying Spirit wants to pay for the exit row? So it was just me and one other person in our exit row, and that was great too. Plenty of leg room. So it was okay. Might not always be okay, but what do you think? So let's start with the experience of flying Spirit. I know that there are people out there that think, oh, Spirit is horrible. Spirit is bad. I should never fly Spirit, blah, blah, blah. Is it remarkably worse than anything else?
We don't have a lot of experience, obviously, from these few times we just mentioned, but I didn't experience any of the things that people complain about. The flight attendants were easily as good, if not better, than those I've encountered on any other airline. And the other passengers, there weren't unruly passengers. There weren't more kids screaming than on any other flight, than on other flights. There was none of that. Maybe we got lucky. I don't know. But I thought the experience was really good. Yes, you have to pay for individual things. So if it really upsets you to, have to pay a few dollars for a drink or a snack instead of getting, the very basics of that kind of thing for free, then yeah, that's not great. But on the other hand, I thought the paid snack selection was better than the free snack selection you'd get even in first class when they bring around a basket, like in Delta, for example. Now, that's not as good as when they bring a meal on first class, but compared to the snack selection, it was good.
Yeah, I've only flown Spirit a couple of times now. I'd flown it once before, I think, this trip that I did with you, and then I flew that trip with you. So I've been on, 3 or 4 Spirit legs ever, but my experience with it has been exactly the same. Flight attendants have been friendly on all the flights that I've been on. That's not something I can say for any of the other airlines that I've flown domestically. I've definitely had good flight attendants, but I've had
it's
bad
just
flight
a gamble
attendants with everybody.
I'm sure it is with Spirit too.
I'm sure it is too. Yeah. But I mean, that's always going to be a gamble. The other passengers you're flying with is always going to be a gamble. So I haven't found it to be any different. And I see the news stories about the fights that break out and this and that sometimes from time to time, but I also look at how many flights there are every single day. I have family in Myrtle Beach. So I'm visiting right now. I'm in Myrtle Beach now. And the flight path to the airport goes over their house. And I don't even know how many flights Spirit has in and out a day, but I feel like there's a yellow plane passing over the house like every 3 or 4 minutes all day long. And there just can't possibly be enough fights in the air for every one of them to have a bad experience. So I feel like your chances of that type of thing are almost equally low, no matter who you're flying. It could be crazy stuff that happens on any flight. So it hasn't happened to me in my experiences. So I feel like that not a big worry for me, but, and price is good usually, right? I mean, if you only need to fly, that's where they really stand out for most people is, man, it's cheap.
Right. Now, one thing I don't like about that, I mean, yes, it's cheap. I like everything about being cheap, but the fact that you have to pay even if you just want to carry on a bag. So you have a personal item that's free. So that's like, a small backpack, a handbag type of thing. But if you want, typical sized airplane carry on or, rolling bag type of thing, they're going to charge you unless you have gold status. Right. And, and then it gets into this whole thing of like, well, first of all, it may or may not be cheaper once you add in the cost of bags compared to other airlines. That's something you have to kind of work out. And it depends on the flight, whether it is or not. Right. But depending on how cheap you are, I guess, then you get into this whole like sort of almost stressful situation of like, how do I bring everything I want to bring in my personal bag instead of
that's how you get one of those Scotty vest type vest jacket things, or there's a couple other brands out there that make similar type stuff. You stuff all your chargers and electronics into your jacket and then, put your clothes in your bag, right, Greg?
You absolutely could do that. There's a popular video that's gone around about using a pillowcase as a extra item, because even if you have a personal item, no one's going to tell you, oh, you can't bring on that pillow. And so there's a lot of tricks like that.
There you go. So, then it might, it might get tedious.
Right. I almost feel like if you're going to decide that Spirit, if you fly a lot, domestically, and you're going to decide that Spirit is a good option for you, you ought to maybe be thinking about gold status. No,
you really should. And there were some other things that came to mind too about the fact that like Spirit has, I think, the youngest fleet in the sky, so it's relatively new planes most of the time, and I think their on-time performance has been at or near the top. So they do have some positives going for them on top of the negatives. But yeah, I think the loyalty program is actually pretty interesting. They revamped the whole program earlier this year. And I think that if you have any shot of flying a moderate amount, it gets pretty interesting. So Spirit has two levels. Spirit has two levels in their elite program, silver and gold. And they each have pretty reasonable spending requirements. So basically, you're going to have to spend $2,000 on Spirit in order to get the silver requirement, or $5,000 on Spirit flights and bags and all the rest of that to reach gold status. And gold status is really where it's at. Gold status also, by the way, can be had through credit card spend. If you get their credit card and spend $50,000 on the credit card in a calendar year, you get automatic gold status, or you'll earn enough status points anyway for gold status. And you can mix and match and spend some money on Spirit flights and then do some spending on the credit card and not do the whole 50K spend on the credit card. You can mix and match that. And as you get status, you earn more points. So you actually earn more Spirit points based on what you spend on all of the incidentals. So in the beginning, when you're paying for your carry-on bag and your check bag and stuff like that, you're going to earn more Spirit points per dollar on all that. Once you get to gold status and you get the free carry-on and a free checked bag, not bad. I mean, not amazing compared to other airlines, but not bad. That'll save you money, because then all of a sudden that, $29 ticket is really $29 because you get a free carry-on and a free checked bag. You're going to earn fewer Spirit points, ironically, on your flights, because you won't earn the points on those, ancillary things. But
right.
But there are other,
and you get a free
benefits.
Snack on board too. Free snack and drink.
Free snack and drink on board. Free flight flex. So you get one free change with gold status, with Spirit Gold status. And so you get the free in-flight beverage, the free seat selection also. So you get free seat selection, excluding the big front seat. You can pick any other seat on the plane, including the exit rows with gold status. You just can't pick the big front seat for free, and you don't get any big front seat discount. So you're still going to pay whatever the price is if you want to.
But when you pay for the big front seat, you're getting a lot more points for that because you're gold.
You are. If you get gold status, you're going to earn 8 Spirit points per dollar on on the base fare and 16 Spirit points per dollar on your ancillary stuff like big front seats. So you'll end up with a lot more points. I mean, compared to where the base level is on that, you're in a ton of points. And not bad. Also, by the way, you get your whatever priority security, you know, and the airports that have that, and obviously the priority check-in, which for Spirit, probably not a bad benefit to have, to be able to skip the line and not have to stand there when the fight breaks out, right?
That's right. And another thing about the big front seat is that even with the cost of the big front seat, which is often more than the cost of the ticket itself,
True.
but even with those two combined, you may find that the total is cheaper than paying for an economy flight on another airline. And I had that exact situation when I did my experiment. Should we talk about my experiment briefly?
Yeah, well, let's talk about the experiment. And then there's a couple more things I want to mention about gold status too, but let's talk about the experiment because I think that's really relevant here.
All right. So here's the thing. Because I had a great experience with Spirit last month, I decided, I'm going to Denver. I'm going to try, I have high level Delta elite status. I always prefer to fly Delta among other, ahead of other airlines regionally. And so I originally booked Delta both ways, from Detroit to Denver and back. But I decided, let's do an experiment. Let's compare apples to apples and book Delta outbound. And I knew that I could use an upgrade instrument. So I would be able to compare Delta first to Spirit big front seat. So I booked Delta outbound and I booked Spirit for the return, and I paid for a big front seat. And this is a good example. The total cost for Denver to Detroit on Spirit with the big front seat was less than the total cost. It was actually quite a bit less than the total cost of Delta in economy for Denver to Detroit. Now that's not including paying for bags because I have Spirit Gold status thanks to us being bloggers and Spirit giving it to us. So that's kind of cheating. But if I had paid for a check bag, it would still have been cheaper than Delta economy. So that's pretty amazing.
That is. And so another thing I wanted to mention about Spirit and Spirit status is when you have gold status or when you have the credit card, you can create a points pool. And this is great for people who are into family travel, people who travel with other folks, or even if you travel for business with other people that aren't interested in miles and points, I guess, because you could pool the points together. So I think of it from a family perspective, because obviously I often travel with my wife and 2 kids. So if I'm paying for 4 tickets, I can be earning 8x Spirit points on the base fare and 16x on whatever incidentals we have. Because the unfortunate thing about gold status that we haven't mentioned yet is that your free checked bag does not transfer to anybody else, and your free seat selection does not transfer to anybody else. So unlike other airlines where you might get free bags for everybody or free seat selection for everybody, that's not the case with Spirit. So I would still have to pay for those things. However, the points that I earn for paying for them could all get pulled together with mine. And I think as a family traveler, that's a great benefit because it means that you can earn points from everybody's flight that you can put together to get at least one ticket for free on the next trip, right?
Yeah, no, that's the type of thing I wish all airlines would do. Most big hotel chains have made it possible to, maybe not most, but a number of them have made it possible to share points for free one way or another, either through a points pool or just moving points to another person. But that's not common with airlines, at least not yet. So I love seeing this. Who's done it? Air Canada has introduced that in North America. In England, you've got British Airways has a points pool, and Virgin Atlantic, I think they require at least silver status now to do a pool. But but it's none of the
one of the Middle Eastern carriers, I think, allows it. Emirates or I don't remember which one, but yeah, it's not common.
But we haven't seen it with
really
like
rare.
American, Delta, United. No. None of them have looked and have offered that. So
not even Southwest and JetBlue, and some of the ones that you might think of as having some more customer friendly policies to try to appeal for one reason or another. I mean, Spirit is the leader. I got to give them. They are the leader on that, right? I mean, it's something that.
Yeah, I mean, I think Hawaiian offers a way to move points if you have a credit card or something.
Oh yeah, there is something.
Yeah, so I'm not sure leader, but they're definitely they're definitely in the right direction on that part. Yes.
So I mean, and if you travel with a family, I think that's good because you can pool the points together. If you travel alone, then Spirit Gold status is probably good enough. It's not going to be great, but the free snack and drink, the selection, as you said, of snacks was decent. If you're going to be able to get Spirit Gold status, it was a decent selection of snacks and drinks to pick from. And they were super friendly about it. I got like a hot chocolate on one of my flights, and they brought me the hot chocolate mix and the water, the hot water and the hot chocolate mix. And they said, just put half of the hot chocolate mix in there because it doesn't all fit otherwise. So they said, put half of it in there. And then as soon as you finish it, just, raise your hand, flag me down, and I'll come back with more hot water for you. So, they were proactive about that, which again, I mean, that's not a huge deal, but
you got 2 do-it-yourself hot chocolates for the price of 1.
2. I didn't have to even ask for it. I got 2, and they proactively told me, "Listen, I'll help you get 2." So that's just not something I typically expect these days. It's silly. It's
that's
small.
a sad story. Sad but true story.
It is, but true. Yeah, I mean, you just don't get. Like most of the time, I fly Southwest, and they're like, "Okay, yeah, there might be turbulence, so we're not going to do the snack service on this flight." They never mentioned that there might be turbulence on a flight on the other side of the country somewhere. Just don't bother doing the snack and drink service like 80% of the time, it seems, on my Southwest flights these days. So I was pleasantly surprised. Moral of the story, I was pleasantly surprised. Now, I don't know, are the points worth anything? Is it going to be worth having Spirit points? That's questionable. I don't know. I've only had them now for like a month. So I never paid attention before.
That's kind of a crucial question for anyone who might consider spending their way to gold status. Like, I don't think for anyone it makes sense probably to spend the full $50,000 to get gold status. But if you're flying enough where you can get halfway there through flying, then I think it's reasonable to ask the question of, should I spend that much? Should I spend $25,000 in a year on the Spirit credit card to get gold status? But
50 if you want to just spend, but 25 plus whatever you spend, if that's what you're talking about. It's 50 if you're going to spend just on the card.
No, I know. That's why I said 25,000 because if you're flying enough to do the other half, to get the other half of the elite status through flying, then it might make sense to consider spending as much as 25,000 or so. I'm just making up
the number. That makes sense.
And but to know whether that's really a good idea or not, you kind of have to know how much is the value of the points I'm earning from the spend on the credit card. Am I like throwing out the ability to earn, for example, 2% cash back with like the City Double Cash or some card like that? So, there's a real opportunity cost if the points aren't worth much.
But a couple of things to keep in mind that Spirit changed with the program. If you remember the old program, the frustration for me in the old program was that points expired like 3 months after you earned them. So you had 3 months to use them and they were gone. Or I think you could keep them alive with activity every 3 months. But I had some points I must have earned from like a shopping portal thing or something. And then I found myself like constantly trying to make another purchase through the Spirit portal to keep my 600 points alive or whatever, and that was just ridiculous. And eventually they all expired on me. But now they don't expire as long as you earn or redeem once per year. So, I mean, that's not as good as Delta that doesn't have their points expire at all, or Southwest, I think, doesn't have their points expire at all anymore. But it's much better than it used to be. Once a year, earn or redeem, I can live with that. And if you have the credit card, then the points don't expire as long as your credit card remains active. So that's an easy way to keep the points valid. And the redemptions start at 2,500 points. So you can redeem for a flight in some cases with just 2,500 points. So, I mean, that's below even what you'll find from a web special with anybody else, right? I mean,
that's true. On the other hand, they do have flights that cost about $10.
right. It costs less than anybody else will charge you. So it kind of makes sense. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't expect to get monster value out of the points. And I think we probably need to do a deeper dive, though. I think the moral of the story here is that it might be worth it, more so than we thought. So now, what are the problems? If you fly Spirit, you do have some problems potentially. And when I ask what are the problems with flying Spirit, I know there's like a large majority of the audience. It's like, I mean, how much time do you have?
Right.
But what are the problems?
Or a lot of people will say no problem because I won't fly them.
Because I won't fly Spirit. Yeah. I think that's short-sighted. I hear people say that, and I think that's so short-sighted because, I haven't flown Spirit very much, and I hadn't flown them just because they had never been convenient in the situations that I needed. Now, if I lived in Detroit like Greg does, where they've got like a billion nonstop flights, I think I would certainly be taking a look at them because, a lot of things vary from one airline to another. I've had bad experiences on every domestic U.S. airline. I've had lots of good experiences too on every domestic U.S. airline. So, I don't usually try to pick my airline based on the, anomaly news story that made the news because it's an anomaly. I don't pick or not pick a flight because of that. So I think it's short-sighted to just count them out because it's like, oh, there's Spirit. Have your nose up in the air about Spirit. I think anyway, because that big front seat is comfortable and if it's cheaper than flying economy. Hello. I mean, I would love to just be two seats instead of three, right?
Exactly. I mean, so with any of the major carriers, most of us who fly those carriers a lot are playing this game of like getting elite status and buying coach and hoping for an upgrade and and waiting at the gate, checking the upgrade list to see if you're going to make it into first class.
Spending $250,000 a year on Delta credit cards to have diamond status.
Whereas you could spend less than the coach ticket on Spirit and just book that big front seat from the get-go, and you're good to go. And as Nick said, out of some airports, Detroit, for example, they have a great route network. It's not as good as Delta's, but it is better than United and American Airlines out of Detroit combined.
Combined. It's crazy. It's crazy, isn't it? I mean, I'm constantly surprised too at their route network out of other airports. Myrtle Beach is one that's a very small airport. It's in mind because it's where I am now. But Spirit by far serves the most destinations of any airline from this particular small airport, and that's notable to me because Myrtle Beach is a place. If you've never driven to Myrtle Beach, I wouldn't expect you to be familiar with the fact that there's no major highway to get here. So you end up on back roads basically any way you're driving to get here. And so it's not a super convenient place to get to for a lot of people anyway. So flying is not bad if you wanted to come to this area. And Spirit is by far the airline that serves this airport the most. And this is not the only airport like that. So we've talked about a number of good things about Spirit. So I have two questions. Number one, is Spirit paying you for this, Greg? And number two, what's wrong with Spirit?
No, Spirit's obviously not paying us anything for this. And we are going to talk about the downside. So what we've gotten out of the way are the sort of a lot of the perceived downsides don't, at least in our limited experience, haven't really been a problem. But there are real downsides, and they're not trivial. First, one that, depending on who you are, it might be trivial, it might not be. It's not trivial to me, is just the fact that somehow they didn't get the memo. When the memo went around all the airlines saying we have to offer free changes and free cancellations to everybody, where was Spirit? They missed the memo.
Didn't get that memo. They didn't get it. Got misdelivered.
Yeah. So,
they're like, no, the program is called Free Spirit. Nothing is actually free.
You can sign up for free.
You sign up for free. That's where the free begins and ends, with Free Spirit.
Right. So that to me is really disappointing because it's such a nice feature now of American, Delta, United, Alaska, Hawaiian, JetBlue, but not Spirit. And Southwest has had that for a while, I guess. Or maybe ever.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
As long as I can remember anyway. But yeah.
It's hard because, at least for me, I'm almost always rethinking plans. And so just sort of not having the ability to freely make those changes when I want to is unfortunate. Again, you did mention that gold status gives you one free change, and I took advantage of that last month. I had I don't know why I had done this, but I had originally booked a round trip flight to our destination. I had based on
Spirit?
on Spirit, but I don't know why I had booked round trip instead of 2 one ways, but I had, and I had found out later that some of the timing was different from what I expected, and Delta was better for the return. So what I actually did is I took advantage of that free change, and I just changed the return to a time when it was dirt cheap, like even, way, way cheaper than what I had purchased. So, I don't know what the end result was, but basically they gave me a whole bunch of credits back by making that one free change using my gold status. So that was nice, but still,
Not
that's kind
nearly
of
as
playing
good as everybody
games, and
else these days.
I'd used up my one free change. It's
Yeah, well, and
it's not
I made
ideal.
one change on that too. Same thing. I changed the return flight on mine, and I had paid for the big front seat originally, but then of course with the new flight that I picked, it ended up being more expensive. So my credit didn't cover the big front seat in the new one. So that's why I ended up flying exit row one way, which I thought was actually not bad because then it gave me a comparison point for big front seat versus exit row. And I was like, either way, it's fine. I was happy with the exit row too, plenty of leg room, but that's definitely a downside. I couldn't just get the same. It's not like booking first class in the sense that, if I had booked a Delta first class flight and I was looking to change to another flight, and maybe I'd be able to get first class if there's availability for that seat again. Whereas in this case, it was, there was no availability,
Right.
Or there was availability, but it was just too expensive.
Gotcha. Okay. So now let's get to the real bad stuff.
Okay.
Sometimes now Spirit has a good on-time performance record.
Very good.
They're better
Overall.
than most of the domestics, not as good as like Delta and Hawaiian, but still very good. So that's impressive. But as with any airline, things don't always go as planned, and flights do get delayed, flights do get canceled. Bad stuff happens. Spirit does not have an interline agreement with the other airlines. So when bad things happen on American, United, Delta, if they can't reaccommodate you on another one of their flights, they can actually pay the other airline for your ticket and put you on there. Spirit doesn't have that option. They also don't have the route network that some of these others have. So, for example, on this experiment that I mentioned before, going to Denver and back, the flight, the Spirit flight from Denver was massively, massively delayed. I proactively booked a Delta flight instead and got home in plenty of time, but it would have been about 7 hours delayed. I would have gotten in at about 2 a.m. If I had stayed on Spirit, because there was nothing they could do. There weren't other flights they could have put me on. They couldn't have put me on the Delta flight. If you really absolutely need to get to where you need to go, there's more risk in booking Spirit than some of the other ones.
It's totally true. And it's not that you can't get delayed or canceled with other airlines. It's just there are more backup plans. There's more flights each day, or they could fly you someplace else to find a new connection for you. Whereas Spirit is typically not going to have that capability. So
right.
It's not set up to be able to clean up the mess when there's a problem. And for that reason, I feel like Spirit makes more sense as what it's probably positioned to be, a more leisure-based airline, in the sense that if you got to be somewhere for business, if I have to be somewhere to speak at a conference or something, I'm probably generally not going to pick Spirit, or maybe I am because I have so many miles that I could always clean up the mess on my own and get to where I need to be if Spirit breaks somehow. But I would think that generally speaking, for a business traveler, it would be tough to make that decision unless you're going to constantly fly in the day before, if you're going to give yourself plenty of buffer zone in case something goes wrong. So that's kind of a bummer, kind of a downside on Spirit. However, these days, it's not as bad as it once was, because now everybody's got those free changes and cancellations. So no matter who I'm flying, I'm booking a backup flight because I can. So, I mean, we talked about that when we did our trip, our GUC trip recently, that
right.
I flew to DC on United, but I had a backup flight booked on Southwest, and I almost forgot to cancel it. But thank goodness at the last minute, I did remember to cancel the backup flight, though I didn't cancel it until I was on the ground in DC and made sure that I was getting to where I was going, because I could do that with a free cancellation or change. And now that you can do that with so many other airlines, it would be pretty easy. It would have been easy for you right off the bat. I don't know if you did this at the beginning to book the backup flight on Delta.
I didn't.
Right
I ended up paying quite a few more miles on Delta than I would have if I had booked it originally as a backup. But it's something it didn't occur to me, because coming back from this trip, I didn't have to be home at a certain time. It's just that I didn't want to come
2 a.m.
at 2 in the morning.
Yeah. It wasn't a specific time. It was just sometime before 2 a.m.
I also didn't want to sit around the airport indefinitely, because it's one of those that all the airlines
there's some priority
do.
pass things, right?
They keep incrementally moving your departure time forward. So you're supposed to stick around the airport all this time. And no, at least at the time I looked in Denver, there was a priority pass restaurant, but not a lounge. I could have gone for free. I could have gone to another terminal to do the Amex Centurion Lounge, thanks to having a platinum card. The Centurion Lounge has this rule about you can enter, it has to be within 3 hours of your departure. I don't know what happens.
Scheduled departure or
right. If it's scheduled, what if my scheduled departure has already come and gone?
That's a good question. Yeah, you should have done that at least for science right there, just to let us know, so that the Spirit flyers with the platinum card would know in the future. But so all right, so that stunk. You had to cancel the Spirit flight. You flew Delta home. It's too bad that happened. And I know since Spirit has horrible customer service, they must have just taken all of your money and not flown you, right?
Yeah, you'd think so. And I thought that's what was going to happen. But I had booked both of, my son was with me, and I had booked our flights at different times. And so his was booked, completely separately from mine. And while I was waiting for the Delta flight to return home, I text messaged Spirit. That seems to be their preferred way of doing customer support these days, which is fine with me. I kind of prefer that over, being on hold on the phone forever. And there were some bumps in that whole process. Like, I got different people initially, and it wasn't really resolved, but I was looking for whether we could get a refund. And in one of those messages, I actually sent it on behalf of my son. So they believed me to be him. I mean, that's, the record locator I put in and everything. And the initial thing about a refund was they were going to be granting a $10 refund per person. As sort of
your tickets were more expensive than $10.
Yeah, but so his with the big front seat was about $112. But then I just wrote back. I said, really, even when the flight is, I think I said something like 9 hours delayed. At that point, that's what I was kind of guessing it was going to end up being. It ended up being more like 7, but still. And to my surprise, she wrote back saying, let me look into that. Okay, I looked into that, and we're going to refund the entire amount back to the original form of purchase, which in my son's case was a credit card. And then I wrote in the message, oh, hey, can you do the same for my father's ticket? And I gave the PNR for my ticket. And she came back and said, yep. And but he booked with credits. Remember, I mentioned how I had extra credits from that changing that other flight last month. That's what I'd used for this flight. And so they refunded my credits. Well, so, that was amazing. I don't expect that on any airline.
Right.
And got that on Spirit. Plenty of readers have said they weren't so lucky when dealing with Spirit. So your mileage may vary. But I specifically mentioned the thing about my son here because I want to dispel any belief that I got special treatment because I'm a blogger or even because I had gold status. Neither one is the case with my son. They had no reason to know we're connected. There's no one in the, customer service that knows anything about me or my son. So, I don't believe for a second it had anything to do with any of that. I think that they were just providing good customer service for my son once he pushed back a little bit, and it wasn't a lot, but just a little bit.
There's just a little bit. And I think that goes to show a couple of things. First of all, that obviously there's some flexibility there, that, whatever you're told the first time isn't always the be all and end all. And that's just a generally applicable rule, right? That, whatever you're told at first is not always the final answer. And then,
That's definitely true.
and then beyond that, being nice and being reasonable often gets you better results. So rather than texting back and saying, I can't believe that this is horrible service, I'm never going to fly Spirit again. Instead, you text back, really, even when the flight is canceled by 9 hours? And look at that. You got somebody, because of that reaction, I'm going to go out on a limb and suggest that maybe it was because you had a reasonable question as a follow-up. That person was like, well, I don't know, maybe. And then they looked into something and figured out, oh yeah, I can give a refund. And that's great, because you were canceling a flight that was delayed. The flight wasn't canceled yet. So you were proactively
That's exactly right.
canceling your reservation, and you ended up with a refund on the credit card.
Yeah, that's the big one, right? So I don't actually have to fly Spirit with that credit, which is great. I mean, not because I'm against flying Spirit, but obviously it's much more flexible that way.
Right.
There's no time limit on that. There is a time limit on my credits on my account, because there was before, and there is now. And we also, I need to mention another thing. This was all kind of weird, but the reason I found out this flight was delayed was not because I got any kind of message, hey, your flight's going to be delayed, but I got a apology email early in the morning that said, we're sorry about your experience on a recent flight. Here's a $50 or $40, I forget how much it was, $50, I think, voucher. And it was, each of us got one of these emails for a future flight for up to 3 months from now. And so that made me start wondering, well, what was the bad experience I had recently?
What happened in the back of the plane? I didn't see a fight. What fight?
So, I found that interesting in two ways. One is it's kind of too bad. Spirit's not unusual in not proactively telling people when the writing's on the wall. I've had really good luck, not on all flights, but sometimes when Delta has been delayed, of them actually letting me know way in advance, and enough so that I don't even have to go to the airport to find out that it's delayed. Whereas on the extreme other end, American Airlines, they keep insisting it's going to be on time, or at least I've had this experience until we're about to board, and then they're like, oh, it's moved back 20 minutes. When anyone, they probably know that the airplane that we need to get on is 3 hours away.
Right. They're like, okay, it'll be 20 minutes delayed. 20 minutes. They're stepping on it.
And they keep telling you, don't leave the gate area, because we could board anytime. Yeah. So Spirit, wasn't as proactive as Delta, but they have some weird, compensation thing going on that knew about this and what, had, and sent out this apology before sending out the, oh, hey, your flight's gonna be delayed, which is just kind of bizarre, but it's a combination of good and not so good.
I mean, the automated nature of giving a credit, that's nice, because you got that in addition to the refund, right? So,
I did. I mean, I haven't checked to make sure that those credits are still valid. But they also gave us each $7 of food credits, which I didn't have an opportunity to
get yourself some pretzels at Annie Ann's or something, maybe with that.
Right.
maybe if you're lucky. Not very much with that, but yeah. Well, I mean, nice
it was a lot
something.
of there were several things that they proactively offered, and that's worth mentioning, because that's not what people expect from Spirit, and I think that Spirit has been trying hard to change their image, and I think that they've been getting, from what I've heard and read, I think they've been getting a lot better than their image. Like, the popular image of them hasn't caught up to where they're actually at.
Mm-hmm. I think that's very true. I think that's very true. And that's been my experience the few times that I've flown Spirit, and I'm glad to see that, because that's good. I want good competition. And one of the things that years before I became a blogger, I was very involved in buying and reselling stuff. And so Slick Deals was a website I constantly used. And anytime there was a deal posted about something at Sears or Radio Shack, I remember Radio Shack back in the day, people would always be like, oh my goodness, I can't wait until they go out of business. And I was like, no, I don't want them to go out of business. I want Best Buy to have some competition. I want somebody pushing the deals in my favor. So I'm rooting for the small guys to stay there too, or to build up and move and put pressure on everybody else. So I'm rooting for Spirit to do well, because that means everybody else has to do something to compete. So I think that that's another good thing going for the competition here. So 3 cheers to Spirit in the ways that they are advancing things, and it's not as bad as perhaps we might think, based on, again, that popular image that is almost always going to be portrayed on a very small percentage of what actually happens, I think. So
right. So, I guess to wrap it all up, I mean, if you're willing to deal with baggage fees, or you're willing to, go for gold status, and you're willing to deal with the uncertainty of actually getting to where you want to go, it's not going to happen often, but when it does, there's a little less they can do, there's less they can do than other airlines. Then I think it's a great opportunity to get to fly up front in comfort domestically for and it's not just domestic, but near domestic also. They have some flights to some other nearby countries, and in comfort and without playing all those hoping for an upgrade games that you have to do with some other airlines.
Yeah, and that, I think, is really where the value lies for a lot of people, that there is no game there. And if you're going to play the game, you really don't have to spend that much money. The credit card, $50,000 might sound like a lot, but the $5,000 that you have to spend in order to get gold status, you're talking about $416 a month on flights. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't spend that much on flights every month, but that's not a lot of money to end up getting free bags and free carry-ons and all the rest of that. So I think it's a reasonable hurdle to have to cross for people who do travel somewhat regularly. So
right. Yep.
All right.
Yeah. Indeed.
All right. So there we go. So let's move on then from the main event to this week's post roast. Do you have a post roast? I don't have a post roast. Okay, go ahead.
Have a post roast?
Should I be roasting the fact that you wrote about Delta and Spirit?
Yeah, probably. All right. So I'll do mine.
Kim did it for me. Thanks, Kim.
Yes, she did. So you've written a number of times recently about how great the +4 referral offer is with Amex. What you haven't written about is how to refer someone to the fantastic Resy Platinum card offer, where you earn 120, where the person who gets referred can earn 125,000 points plus 15 points per dollar on dining and small business purchases. So why haven't you explained how to do that?
So true. So, and I'm laughing because I'm going to give the answer to it, but it's actually a good roast, a good piece of feedback. So because you can't, that's why I haven't written about it, because you can't. The only way you can get that offer is to go through the Resy link. So, we call it the Resy Platinum offer all the time when we're writing about it, but it's not a Resy Platinum card. It's just the Platinum card. And it just so happens that Resy's got the best link. There is no referral link that has the same offer. The referral offer varies somewhat, actually, depending on the card you refer from, and it can be almost as good. The best referral offers for the 125,000 points and 10x restaurants and small businesses. But if you want the 15x restaurants, restaurants worldwide and U.S. small businesses, you have to go through Resy to get it. There's no way to get referral credit if somebody wants to open that. So you can't do it. But it's a good point that I probably should make that a more prominent feature in any post about this, because we always get that question.
That's right.
And it's a fair question. Everybody wants to know it. I mean, duh. Obviously, I should have included that. So
right.
So if you've been wondering,
the trick,
the answer
if you're in 2-player mode, you can't refer your player to that offer, but you could each sign up for that offer if you wanted to, and you could refer each other to some other card from that Platinum card once you get it. Unless you're one of the few unfortunate ones who don't have referrals from the Platinum card, which is possible.
I guess it's possible. Yeah. I mean, I've only heard that from a few people, and I don't know if there were people who opened it recently or not. I'm not sure, but I opened mine recently and it still shows. I don't know. Anyway, yes. And to add to that point, because people, like I said at the beginning, have asked, how do you pick up referrals? That's a great example where each person opens the Resy Platinum on their own, and then they refer each other for some other card that, probably has a low spending requirement. So you don't have to worry about dedicating very much spend to it. So you can trigger the 4x bonus on that spend that you're going to be doing on the Platinum card anyway. And you stand to earn so many points that, like, for example, the Business Green Rewards card that I opened, that has a 25,000 point sign up bonus on 3K spend. So relatively easy to meet it. Or if you don't meet it, so what? You get your 4X on your 25K spend on the platinum card from which you referred it. You're going to get 100,000 points there. So even if you just don't even bother meeting the spend for the business green rewards, you just say, whatever, I don't have enough capacity to spend that much. Still, you could have player 2 open it. All they have to do is open it through your link in order to trigger the +4. They don't actually have to meet the spending requirement. So, that might be worth it if you can't fathom doing enough spend.
Right.
To
Right. Pretty soon it's going to be all academic. You have to actually get your referee person you refer to get approved by December 1st. So not much time.
Got to hop on it here. Got to hop on it here, but worthwhile. All right. So good roast. You cannot refer to that. So there's your answer, folks. There's no way to do it. All right.
I sort of snuck in a question of the week in a way.
And it's not the only one, because the gold card also similar. The best offer on the gold card is through Resy also. We haven't really mentioned that very much because the platinum card steals all the thunder, but the best gold offer is also through Resy. It's like 75,000 points and 20% back at restaurants on up to, I don't know, up to $250 back or whatever. So that's the best offer on the gold card too. But anyway, all right. So good roast there. I'm going to move us forward to the actual question of the week this week, because this one is a kind of a fun one. Jason writes in emails and says, I was wondering if you had any thoughts on Amazon pulling Visa in the UK. I don't know if you heard about this, but Amazon announced they're not going to accept Visa anymore in the UK because the fees are too high. So just wondering if you had any thoughts on Amazon pulling Visa in the UK and maybe potentially doing so in the US. Can you see battles like this, akin to carriage fees and TV networks, where they pull their shows, becoming more and more common in the future? I don't know if you've noticed that before, but where, sometimes my in-laws are on DirecTV, and every now and then one affiliate or another pulls out, and then they can't get NBC or CBI, whatever it might be. Yeah. So if merchants begin capping fees, I can see maybe this leading to a reduction in rewards from credit cards. So what do you think? Do you think there's any likelihood that Amazon stops taking Visa in the US if Visa's charging them a bunch of money? They've obviously made that decision in the UK. Do you think there's any danger of that happening here? And then do you think that this type of battle will lead to a reduction in credit card rewards? It's
a great question. I mean, I don't know the answers to either. Obviously, it's just guessing.
Just looking for speculation.
I totally can imagine that in the US, Amazon is such a huge part of Visa's revenue, just because they do such ginormous business that they have to pull a lot of weight. And I can imagine that Visa might have been less willing to back down when it was about the UK business, just because that's a smaller, it has to be a much smaller business, I imagine. But in the US, I have to think that Visa's going to drop their rates for Amazon, not in general across the board. So if that's true, or maybe it's already happened for all I know,
right?
Amazon probably already gets great rates. Then the question is, because Visa is earning less and the banks are earning less as a result as well, does that mean they're going to reduce rewards? And I mean, I don't think that that's likely to happen because of one retailer, despite how huge this one retailer is. But it's something, I guess, to maybe look out into the I'd say distant future to worry about. I can't imagine that happening in the next year or two, because everything's been going the other way. The rewards have been getting bigger and bigger. And so for any bank to continue to compete while also pulling back on rewards, that would be a big step. And it's not the right environment for them to do that.
No, yeah. I mean, it is interesting, because I do see where the question is coming from, and it makes some sense that if fees get competed down too low, that how could they afford to continue to do it? But I think the point you made there at the end is exactly it. You can't possibly compete for customers in this environment without a generous rewards earning, right? Or offering of some sort. I mean, there's lots of small local banks that have credit cards that don't offer very much or don't offer anything, and I guess they survive, but they're not going to compete on the level of a Chase or an Amex or a Citi, because they don't offer enough. And so I can't see that disappearing. And if it does, like you said, distant future, because I think it would have to be like a slow tapering off. And where we're at right now I've written about these Amex things with the referral bonuses. I get so many cards in my wallet now that are earning 8, 10, 12, 16x right now on certain amounts of spend that, the pullback from there to a point where, you're looking at 1x or something like that is quite a distance. And all the new cards have been offering better and better multipliers on different categories. So yeah, I think we're safe for a while. Far out. Safe for a while, hopefully. Yeah. All right. Very good. Well, if you've enjoyed what we've been talking about today, you'd like to get on our email list, go to frequentmiler.com/subscribe. Again, that's frequentmiler.com/subscribe. Find us on social media. Join our Frequent Miler Insiders Facebook group. And wherever you're listening or watching this show, make sure that you hit subscribe, enable notifications, leave us a comment, a thumbs up, whatever it might be. We appreciate all those things. And we will see you guys again next week.
Bye, everybody.